will do.
I mean, we could all sit around that table.
I don't think the cord will reach that far, but if you guys want to come up closer.
Do you need this piece up right there? I guess do you have a mouse on the computer?
No. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Maryland Go team to order. It is 6:41 p.m. Paul, if you would call the roll, and I'm going to ask, just because we're in two different locations, if everybody could please speak up rather than raise your hand when he calls your name. And if you can't hear, wave and I'll be watching.
Allison, do you want to use my mouse?
That's fine.
Okay. So, okay, so Ms. Briscoe,
Present.
Christy Perez, Allison Thompson,
Present.
Ashley Henshaw,
Present.
Monica Waldman. And she said she's gonna be later.
Yeah, it's fine.
Missy Snyder,
Present.
Elizabeth Broderick,
Present.
Scott Thorpe,
Present.
Kelsey Poyagen.
She was on mute, but I saw her nod and I see her face.
Yes, great. We have
Present.
form.
Present. Sorry.
Doing great.
Okay. Okay. So let me share my screen and hopefully you all will be able to see the agenda, which was posted on the website. Does everybody see the agenda?
We see white.
Yeah, stop sharing and then click on the agenda.
It should be both, right?
Click on the draft minute.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to do a brief scroll. Again, these were posted. Wait, but that's not the right thing.
That's
Hold
we
on.
gotta do the agenda.
I know, hold on. Oh. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, so before I call a vote, I'd like to have some discussion about the agenda for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, you know, today we had hoped that we would be having an in-person meeting. That has turned out to be a little bit of a logistical issue, number one. Number two, you know, I think that so the purpose of this meeting today is really to finalize the strategic priorities for next school year and to have a discussion about some data and information that frankly we do not have. So as an example, we really should be looking at a comparison between fall map data and winter map data, but the winter map testing is happening like literally today.
Right now.
And so, you know, we can't really well compare information when we don't have the information. So, you know, given that, well, and I guess another thing is, and again, Ms. Briscoe, I'll let you sort of comment on this, but you know, they suggest that we talk about like where we are with against the CIP with a quarterly check-in, and that meeting hasn't happened. It's, I guess, a little bit unclear whether it's going to happen.
So what we had in the past is that we would do something called ACEs. So people who are on the team before would remember that, where we would go in front of the Atlanta Public Schools are my supervisor and above, and all the different departments that support schools, and just talk through our data. We have not done that. We don't have that on the agenda at all. So I know that we do have a meeting coming up next week, and I can certainly ask, but we have not done, had any conversation about our CIP.
So with all of, I mean, so again, as you can see, like on the agenda, the discussion items, in essence, like at least 2 of the 4 of them, we can't actually discuss them today. So given all of that, I am going to propose that we alter today's agenda and essentially indicate that we had a discussion about the fact that we sort of can't have this meeting today, and then change it so that our action items and discussion items move to, we'll still have to approve the minutes, but also then revisit the meeting calendar, because I think that what we're likely going to want to do is, just amend the calendar for 2024 for our Go Team meetings in 2024 to account for the fact that we're going to need to have this meeting and then move into meetings related to the budget. So in essence, this is what I would propose the agenda we approve, which is not to eliminate this, eliminate all of this, and then add an action item in discussion about changing the calendar. So with that change, I mean, I guess what I would need to do is call for a motion to approve the agenda as it is proposed to be amended, in a second, and then a vote.
Can we just clarify like what we have going on from here, just so people kind of have a better understanding of what's happening? We already have a meeting scheduled for January, and it's at the end of January. And the reason why we have that, I believe, is that's when we're supposed to do our first pass at the budget. And we'll meet more than once about the budget, because the first time it's just kind of like an explanation, and then and some discussion, and then I have to balance it and bring it back to the team for approval. So if we're talking about moving the meeting, are we trying to combine? Because that was the recommendation. I don't want us to get into a situation where we've just like overloaded ourselves with information. But Alice is 100% right. I don't have any data to share. Period.
So I think,
I mean, I have like a principal's report to share, but in terms of where we are with MAP, I don't have that. So are we suggesting that we bring this back up in addition to and combine that with the initial budget presentation?
so I think the motion that is currently on the table is only about the agenda for what we're going to do in the meeting today. So
okay.
So if we can just agree or vote on amending the agenda, which again, basically it would eliminate all of this stuff about the strategic plan, and instead, like, we would still approve the minutes, we would still do the principal's report and the CAT update, but we would also then add like an action item and discussion about the Maryland Go Team meetings in 2024, and that's where we would talk about that.
Okay.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
So we're waiting for somebody to make a motion, because I don't make motions or vote.
Yeah. So that was the discussion, and then I guess there's like the proposal is to now move to change the agenda, if anybody would like to make and or second that motion.
Basically take C action item and all discussion items out of this
Yeah.
agenda.
And add a discussion item
About the calendar. the meeting
remaining
dates.
dates. I motion to amend the agenda as discussed,
Well, to approve it as,
to approve the agenda as discussed.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So I'm gonna call for a vote. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute because again, given that we're in different places, if everyone who votes to approve the agenda as amended would raise your hand if you're on Zoom and keep it raised. And let's just do that in the room too.
Ashley, you're on mute.
Everybody's got their hands up.
Okay. So the motion passes.
I
We
have my
a-
hand up, but my screen is frozen.
It's okay, we saw. Thank you.
Okay.
So that motion passes, which means let me now move to the minutes, which is what I had a minute ago. Okay, so these are the draft minutes. Again, they were posted on the Go Team website. They're from our meeting in October. May I ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the October Go Team meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor, raise your hand and keep it raised. You have it. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. So that motion passes. Okay, so that moves us into a discussion about the meeting dates. And let me pull up. Where did I have that? Here we go. There's a document that the Go Team office provides. Hold on a second. And it's called Meetings at a Glance, and it sort of shows what Go Teams are supposed to do at various meetings. Which I think will help. Okay. So this is where we are currently, and this is what we were going to be doing, was finalizing the strategic plan updates and ranking strategic plan priorities. This meeting obviously needs, well, we were.
And you see where it says ACEs there?
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna even be doing ACEs, so that's just a heads up.
Yeah. Well, and you'll see
Mhm.
too that this contemplates 8 meetings and we only had 7 scheduled initially. So what that meant was we had bumped up like September, October, November, we had sort of combined some of these. Anyway, the point being that this December meeting, which is what we're having today at the end of November, this is what we were going to be doing. And again, the Go Team office suggests, recommends, whatever, that you do this before leaving for the holiday break in December. However,
Mhm.
you know, December starts on Friday. And as we, you know, previously noted, there are like the map testing is occurring right now. You know, it's
Yeah.
to try to cram in a meeting.
And just to be clear, just also to clarify, the map testing schedule is set by the district.
Yeah.
So we're not like behind on it or anything like that.
Realistically, when will you get the scores for the map?
So they come immediately. It's, you know, it's scored as they take it. So as soon as each grade level finishes, right now, I think we're doing 1, 3, and 4. Am I making that up?
We took it today.
1,
and
4, and 5.
math and then reading tomorrow, and I think 4 did as well.
Yeah. So the scores will be back as soon as, you know, as soon as everybody's done. But I was sharing with Allison, it would probably be helpful for us as our admin team to kind of analyze
That's fine.
the scores and take a look at where we are, what we've done, so that when I report back about them, there's some rationale or reasons behind what's going on. You know, otherwise we would just be looking at the raw data.
Just in case.
Sure, that makes sense.
So the reality is that what we need to do is we need to have this meeting that's showing here for December in January, but then we also need to have these 3 budget meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, one idea that well, and let me also back up and say that if you go to the website, I mean, it says that currently we have a meeting on January 30th, a meeting on February 27th, a meeting on March 11th, and a meeting on April 30th. So one idea that I proposed, earlier today when this sort of came up, was that we cancel the January 30th meeting and move the January meeting earlier. So instead of doing it at the end of January, we do today's initially proposed meeting the week of January 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we squeeze in another meeting the week of February 5th to start the budget process, because that still puts a number of weeks between February 5th and February 27th, which is when we would be scheduled to do this budget feedback meeting. That keeps that on track. But then
I think that sounds great. And let me tell you, one of the reasons why. So the budget allocation meeting is I'm literally, they're going to give me how much money we're getting. And it's just really a process, especially for those who are new, of explaining how Atlanta Public Schools funds. It's called the Student Success Formula. And it's about how it's literally, this is the pie. These are the dollars that we have. And then it's an explanation to the team of what that looks like. Then that's the allocation meeting. It is literally, I'm just telling you what I got. Then the next meeting is where I give you my first draft at the balance of that based on our priorities. And in the past, our budget hasn't really differed that greatly. But I do anticipate having some changes this year due to the rezoning. This year, they were very kind and gave us some grace because we really weren't sure about what the numbers were going to look like. So after that feedback meeting, I will share what it is that I'm thinking, and then the team will say, okay, we don't want to lose this. These are the things that are most important to us based on our priorities. And then the team will then say, and then we come back the third time. And the third time is literally just like a 2-minute meeting. It is I shouldn't say 2 minutes because nothing we do is 2 minutes, but a shorter meeting to say, approve or not approve.
So, I mean, I guess that if we cancel the January 30th meeting and instead, so here, say the week of January 15th, that Tuesday is the 16th. January 16th, we have this meeting where we finalize strategic plan updates and rank the plan priorities. Then the week of February 5th, the Tuesday would be February 6th. We have this budget allocation meeting. Then the question is, 3 weeks later, we already have a meeting on the schedule, which is February 27th, which would be this big, hefty budget feedback meeting. Do you think that meeting should stay, or would you rather try to do one the first week in March and then also later in March? In essence, we're going to need to have either a meeting at the beginning of February and the end of February, or the beginning of March and the end of March to do these 2 meetings.
I think that March is a longer month, but at the same time, like, the budget allocation meeting generally takes a little bit longer than the budget feedback meeting because because it's the explanation of what's happening. And just to be honest, like when this started, this whole like notion of having a charter district, there were some autonomy and things that you could do that just don't apply to us because we don't really have any money to work with. So it's like, you can be creative and do various things with your money. Like some people, would do things like not have a school secretary, but use a clerk for that position, or, kind of just like outside of the box thinking to save money. Some schools eliminated all full salaried paraprofessionals and used hourly people for that role. But the truth is that there's not much wiggle room in our budget anyway. So I point being, I don't think it really matters if we do it in February or March. And I would maybe say just go ahead and do it in February because it's earlier. And there's going to be a deadline, which I do not have yet, for when the budget has to be approved.
Yeah. So,
Because when I meet, what happens is that I will meet with Atlanta Public Schools and they will tell me yay or nay about the budget, but whether or not they agree, but I can't really bring it to them without having talked to this team first.
Yep.
So my recommendation is doing it earlier.
So let me just tell you all kind of what I'm proposing. Everybody write it down and then sit with it for a minute, because after I say what the proposal is, then I want everyone to chime in. Okay? So I'm proposing that we add a meeting on Tuesday, January 16th, that we cancel the meeting currently set for Tuesday, January 30th, that we
Sorry.
add a meeting on Tuesday, February 6th, that we retain the meeting on Tuesday, February 27th, that we then cancel the meeting that is on Monday, March 11th, and instead do the budget approval meeting on the following week on Tuesday, March the 19th. And then we can keep our final meeting, which I think is on April the 30th.
I know I've been the only one who's weighing in because I'm just bossy like that. But I just want to say again, I don't know what the budget timeline is going to be, and that March final meeting might be too late. So we can vote on it and see if that works, but we may have to readjust a second time if those meetings happen earlier.
And I'm
I just want
actually
everybody to be prepared for that.
fine if we just, for now in particular, keep the March 11th meeting. Just be aware that the budget feedback meeting would then be happening essentially a week and a half prior.
Yeah, that's how it normally happens. Because what happens is the feedback meeting is like I'm just presenting to you, and everybody has a week to marinate on whether or not they have any other thoughts about it. Do you feel like that's not enough time?
I mean, I think it's fine. The only thing I'm worried about is, of course, like the logistics of making sure that we, have everything posted and ready, and so we're going to be it's just going to be a very quick turnaround in terms of everyone doing the thinking, making comments, and also, setting the agenda, getting the presentation, and having all of that ready and available, which is all fine. It's definitely not a deal breaker. It's just everyone should be aware that it's going to be pretty busy between the 27th and the 11th.
Yeah.
Go team wise.
And I was looking at the month. I thought there was a break in there, but it's not. Breaks in February.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what we're saying is to just add this part of the strategic plan updates to our already scheduled January meeting. It would just be way too long and nobody wants to sit through an extra half an hour or 45 minutes during that meeting. Is that what we're all like, basically like, we'd rather just keep it to 1 hour meeting blocks and not 2 hours for that one meeting.
I do think that it would be a long meeting to do the finalizing the strategic plan, ranking the priorities, and doing the budget allocation. I also, and Ms. Briscoe, you can just comment on this, I'm just not sure about the optics of preparing to do both of those things. Like, meaning that, you know, we'll have to prepare to have this budget allocation meeting before there's been any finalization of the strategic plan and the ranking of the priorities, which seems misaligned to me.
Well, I think that it's fine to do the budget allocation at the same time. Because all it is an explanation. So nobody's commenting on where they think we should, nobody's giving any feedback about the budget. They're just hearing what the budget actually is, what are the numbers, and then and they're hearing that after we finalize our priorities. So, you know, we're literally just ranking our priorities that we've already established. So I don't mind having a longer meeting than having an additional meeting.
I guess
Personally.
that is the other alternative, is that we could combine the two. It could potentially be a very long meeting on January 30th, doing all of this together.
So in that case, we would not change the schedule.
1, 2, February. Yes, correct.
Personally, for me, like, I don't mind having long meetings as opposed to blocking out my schedules for more days of meetings. But I'm happy to have a discussion around people preferring to have shorter meetings than the evenings. I mean, I know it gets like bumped into kids' bedtimes and stuff like that.
Why don't we take an informal poll?
Ms. Walvin, if you're talking to us, we can't hear you. Sorry. Informal poll.
Well, I was going to wait to see if, Monica, do you want to come off mute?
No, it's fine, it's fine. I'm sorry. I'm having a problem with the computer, we got a new computer at school. And for some reason, I can't detach the computer at school from my home computer. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. So before we decide, why don't we have folks raise your hand if you prefer to have a long meeting on January 30th versus an earlier meeting in January and an additional meeting in early February. So if you prefer the longer January 30th meeting, raise your hand.
Oh, I don't vote, but yeah.
Well, this isn't a formal, it's an informal poll at the moment, but it seems like that is the winning.
It's harder for me to get away from doing bedtime stuff. More time.
Can I suggest that we move the meeting to 5:30 that day instead of starting at 6:30?
I think that's a good
5:30.
idea. I think that's a good idea.
That way we can still end at a reasonable time, but we'll just start a little bit earlier.
Yes, completely agree.
Okay, so should we make that?
All right, so let me just
Just to
revisit.
add another piece of the vote.
Okay, so what we are proposing is that this and this would both be happening on January 30th in a meeting that will be starting an hour earlier at 5:30. The February 27th meeting would be this budget feedback meeting. The March 11th meeting would be the budget approval meeting, and then our year-end closeout would be April 30th. So that is the proposal on the table. Can I get a motion to approve that amendment to the meeting schedule?
Motion to approve.
For the meeting schedule.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. All right, any opposed?
I raise my.
Okay, that motion passes. Okay. So the last two things we have are the principal's report, and then if there is an update from the Midtown CAP. So let's start with the principal's report.
Okay, I was about to say, I don't want to burst the bubble about the Midtown Cat, but that meeting is tomorrow. So I know there's no update because that meeting is tomorrow. And you know, I know it sounds so crazy because there's all these competing interests, but we didn't know that that meeting was going to be tomorrow until after we had set our agenda, because it's, you know, it's a group of people. But anyway, and it's at 4:30 tomorrow. But so Mary Lynn, just our updates are that even though we don't have any data to support our progress towards our, you know, growth and learning goals, I can just tell you that we are hard at work every day doing lots of things, all things STEAM, as we're working towards our STEAM certification. Something that was awesome today is our the people who went to the STEAM conference that was paid for by our foundation, did their presentation. You know, they bring back ideas for the rest of the team, and it was just really inspiring and incredible. I don't want to speak for the teachers, so they can chime in if they, you know, if they agree or not. But it's a lot about arts integration into STEAM and just like practical applications, things that they can do in the classroom every day. And so that made me really, really happy. Another thing that I think is really important as we're chipping away at our goals or just working towards our goals is that on election day, earlier this month, we did the Biracial History Project walk as a staff, which is where we went around Candler Park to look at the historical markers right in our own backyard and the implications. To where we are as a community. And I think that was also very impactful, and we debriefed that. Uh-oh, am I frozen?
Not
Says my
anymore.
internet's unstable. Okay. And so I thought that was very impactful as well. And just like, you know, a quick update in terms of our PTA. We did have our general meeting, and was it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago? Oh, right before Thanksgiving, and that went well. They are working with me on holiday gifts for the staff. We've also committed $10,000 of PTA money to get the marquee fixed. Finally, we've been waiting for that for a really long time. The marquee in front of the building has been broken for a couple of years, and we're also now working on trying to get the auditorium renovated, and Carolyn Noble is leading that project. In terms of foundation, our kickoff is going to be starting right after the holiday, but today is Giving Tuesday, so we did a special rocket blast to make a plea for that. And we also got some work done in the Habitat over the break, and so if you haven't seen it, you should come and take a look at it. And I'll take any questions. That's what's going on. All things Lynn. We're doing great. IMO.
I think,
Anybody have any questions about what's happening, going on?
can you hear me? Is the microphone?
Yeah,
on?
kind of.
Oh, okay, I can yell louder. I was just wondering in our meeting minutes from last time, you talked a little bit how in the CAT meeting, they were talking about comparing the STEAM programs across the cluster. And we discussed like, who's gonna do that? What metrics are they gonna use? I wonder, did those STEAM head instructors get together? And how did Mary Lynn fare in that comparison? And were there recommendations for things that we can do to be more equitable across our partner schools or sister schools?
Yeah. So in terms of the heads, the STEAM coordinators, I don't know where they are in terms of the rubric of what the things that each school should have are. I can tell you that our math and science coaches have all gotten together to kind of norm our assessments and like the processes and procedures by which we plan lessons and things like that. So Linan has been working with all of the STEAM people from the other schools, but I don't have an update on the coordinators in terms of those particular things that we talked about at the CAT meeting. So maybe there will be an update on that tomorrow. And I'll definitely ask Stephanie, because Stephanie's our person and she's totally amazing. She has her hands full with those chickens. Missy put a night camera out at the chicken coop. Well, it's a 24-hour camera, so that she can keep an eye on them.
Yeah, it's a trail cam, so I'm getting some interesting footage, seeing what kind of little visitors we have coming our way, and I've had requests to have more cameras installed in the habitat to see if there are any other critters that come around. So we'll see.
That's cool.
Missy likes critters. She's on her own with that.
I love the critters, all the critters.
Mm-hmm. That was a great question, though, Christy. I need to follow up on that and find out what's going on from Stephanie. Anybody else?
Shaking heads here.
Guys, I'm going to jump off. I've got my STEAM endorsement class. I have to do an assignment, so I'm going to jump off.
Yeah.
But
thanks for getting on. I know
Yep.
that was you were double booked tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, it was okay. Nice to see you guys.
Yep, you too.
Bye, good night.
Okay, well, that seems to conclude our business. So can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:19 p.m.?
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. All those in
So
favor?
we'll
raise your
see you
hand.
guys. So we'll see each other on January
30th.
Okay. Happy
All right,
holidays.
no opposed, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.